This is a student who can't be named at what's called the toughest school, Michaela Community School in Brent. Apparently lost a High Court challenge this week on a ban against prayer rituals. So just outline the case and what your take is on what the judge ruled.
Okay, Tricia. Well, good afternoon as always. Good afternoon to everyone at home or on the move. The Michaela Community School, by way of background, it's in Brent, North London. No, well, Brent Cross Shopping Centre when I was a kid. It's a free school. You can choose whether you go there or not, or more likely your parents can. And many parents do, Tricia, because it gets exceptional results. It's got a very well publicized high level of discipline. That's kind of the ethos and character of the school. And I think you probably can't avoid or separate talking about the school from talking about its charismatic kind of educational rock star head teacher, Catherine Bilber Singh. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Now, she's a former social inclusion czar. She knows how to play the political game, and she's something of a force in education, controversial character. And parents want the benefit of that for their children. Yeah. Why? Because it's a free school. You don't have to pay for it, but it gets the kind of results that you do have to pay for in the private system. She champions kind of aggressive integration, unity in the school, team spirit over the individual, teamwork, togetherness, and among many other rules designed to promote that. Here's the big one. Friday, prayer rituals during lunch break are banned. And of course, that specifically kind of, as anybody who works or is Muslim will know, Friday prayers are a particularly important thing. And one of the 5 pillars of Islam, as I understand it, not being an expert, of course, is the prayer ritual.
And we should say for the school, people who choose to go to that school, accept that. And we should say that they were saying that they could do catch-up prayers. Muslim people were saying they could do catch-up prayers afterwards. Now, in this, they brought in the ban for a particular reason. March, 30 students began to pray in a school's yard using blazers to kneel on. And there was this kind of culture shift because of outside forces sort of promoting this. And that went against, when you sign your kid up for a school like that, you know what the lie of the land is. You know what the rules are.
I think you're, to a great extent, whether you agree with it or not, and I'm not saying that I have an opinion about whether secularism or religion in schools is acceptable. I mean, we've got a pretty mixed history on that already. I didn't know till reading up on this subject that every single state school in the country basically has a broadly Christian affirmation of faith of some kind on every day. That was a bit of a bolt from the blue to hear about. On the facts of this, and it's very important that people don't think that this judgment in the High Court we're going to talk about has any bearing, particularly necessarily, on schools across the country and about whether people of different faiths can exhibit or practice their faith. Because on the specific facts here, certainly the arguments heard in court were such that, and the justification at the time of the head teacher was that we were looking, there was a sense of peer pressure, a sense of requirement and kind of pressure to engage in this, that it was driven by a particular student, that there was a kind of sense of organized rebellion and campaigning about it, which was kind of altogether not what was being claimed, and absolutely against the kind of spirit of togetherness and unity and all of that the school promotes. Now,
I was going to say, Mr. Justice Linden, he ended up dismissing the pupils' arguments against the prayer ritual ban based on what you sign up for. More Muslims than ever are going there. But he did uphold the students' challenge to a decision to temporarily exclude her from school.
Yeah, very interesting. So first of all, you're right. You said, actually on the face of it, it is discriminatory according to European law. But proportionality, also important in European law, you can go elsewhere. So on the balance, it's okay. But there was another ground, and that's that there were two temporary exclusions of this particular student. And I think they probably, or the second one probably prompted this kind of this legal action and everything else. The judge said that while the first exclusion was deemed to be properly decided, the second was based on incomplete evidence. And that's because for an exclusion to be considered fair by a court, and these things are governed by law, although I never thought about whether I might get a detention at school when I was at Manchester Grammar might be governed by law. The law says that in disciplinary matters, schools should ask for an account from a pupil, and the head teacher didn't do this in this case. The judgment reads in this case that he was satisfied that in the case of the second exclusion, that failure was a failure to have any regard to the statutory guidance or the school's own exclusion policy, and she acted inconsistently with those policies as a result. So really not a win for the teacher, or for the head teacher. I have to say, I just think the whole thing on reflection, however, is really sad. You have a pupil, I can't imagine for a minute, and no matter what statements the pupil puts out afterwards, that a teenage pupil is acting in this way, making this, getting involved in a political fight with their school educational establishment over whatever this is, without substantial assistance and indeed promotion from parents. And I don't know what the aim of it is. I think it's political and unnecessary. The goal of education is to be educated. Not saying I agree with what the school did. I'm not saying I'd send my daughter to that crazy school, because it's all a bit weird over there.
My thing is, Joseph, if you choose a school for particular values, and I feel for the student, but if you pick a school, or your parents pick a school for particular values, then you live by those rules. Otherwise,
and you know what? I think those kind of, that harking back to old-fashioned values and all of that, robs us of so much of what we've learned about child development and all of that. And I wouldn't be sending my daughter there. I think that school's policies are kind of odd and weird, and maybe they work for some parents, but it's not for me. That doesn't mean that children shouldn't have that choice, and it doesn't mean that children should be forced to go this, and they can go elsewhere, can't they?